I moved ahead of my fiancée and offered a portion of my business to her parents before we were even married. She insisted, threatening to leave me if I didn't comply, so I gave in. I had started a small tech consulting firm from scratch, and it was doing well. I was 33 years old, and I had poured countless hours into building something solid, sacrificing my own desires and missing vacations in the process. For a long time, I was about to marry a woman I thought truly valued hard work. After dating for 2 years, I grew to admire her ambition and sense of style. I believed our values aligned, but as we were finalizing the guest list and reviewing vendor contracts 3 months before the wedding, I realized how mistaken I had been about her views on independence, respect, and fairness. One day, as we sat at the kitchen table discussing flower arrangements, my fiancée casually mentioned that her parents had been extremely supportive of our relationship. She suggested we should express our gratitude to them more formally. Confused, I looked up and responded, "We already invited them to go on that trip, and I even bought them an anniversary gift." "What more do you mean?" She leaned forward, tapping her well-groomed nails on the table. "I'm referring to the company," she said. "Maybe you could offer them a small stake. It would be such a thoughtful gesture." I was stunned. "My business? Why would I do that?" Her expression hardened. "You'll soon be considered part of their family, too. It would show your trust and appreciation for their role in our lives." I fought to stay calm. "I built this business on my own. Neither of your parents were involved. They didn't invest in it." She shrugged dismissively. "When it comes to family, it's not about whether they helped or not. It's about being part of something bigger. You're giving them this as a wedding gift." At that moment, I saw just how entitled she was. "This isn't normal," I exclaimed. "People don't just give shares of their company when they get married." Her smile faded, her eyes narrowing. She tilted her head. "Think it over carefully. Your life with me is about to begin. Don't you want peace?" Her words dripped with an unspoken threat. My stomach churned. I deeply regretted holding firm against giving away part of my business, but I refused to back down. There were other ways I could be generous, but not here. "You don't have to do this if you really care about me," she said, pursing her lips tightly. "My parents raised me and helped me, so they should get this. It's your way of showing gratitude." Her use of the word gratitude made me feel like I was indebted to her, but I remained resolute. "I won't give up what I've worked so hard to build. They deserve respect, not a piece of my income." Her eyes narrowed, and she stood up from the table. "Then why are we even getting married if you can't do this for me?" Her self-centeredness was staggering. Suddenly, it hit me just how manipulative her demands were. She never acknowledged the years of effort I had put into building my company. Instead, she treated it like a bargaining chip, something to be given away to secure her approval. The conflict wasn't over. In the days that followed, she stopped talking about the wedding and instead focused on making me feel guilty. "They're excited about our future. Can't you see that you love me? If you truly do, you do this simple thing to make them feel included." I tried to reason with her, offering alternative solutions, generous gifts, a family vacation, but she wasn't interested. In her eyes, the only thing that would truly show my commitment was giving her parents a stake in my company. She brought it up one night after an uncomfortable dinner. "I may have to reconsider this marriage if you don't give my parents a share," she said, her gaze sharp and voice devoid of warmth. My pulse quickened. Was I engaged to a life partner or negotiating with a ruthless business associate? Taking a deep breath, I asked, "Are you serious? We're just weeks away from the wedding, and you're willing to throw everything away because I won't hand over part of my company." She folded her arms, her expression unwavering. "You say you love me, but you're unwilling to make any sacrifices. It's only fair that my parents benefit from your success. You can afford it." I was stunned by the sheer audacity. This isn't about money. It's about integrity, fairness, and principle. Your parents have done nothing to deserve a stake in my business. Do you see me as anything more than a financial provider for your family? A flicker of something crossed her face. Disappointment, perhaps, or calculation. "Maybe I need a partner who values family more," she said, her tone laced with arrogance. "If this is your mindset, perhaps marriage isn't the right path for us." That moment made one thing painfully clear. She never saw my company as something I built, but as something she could control. What future could we possibly have if this was how she operated before we were even married? I had endured enough manipulation, ultimatums, and betrayal. The next morning, I met with a lawyer friend and laid out the situation. He raised an eyebrow. "That's a serious red flag," he warned. "If she's making these demands now, imagine what it'll be like after marriage." Transferring shares could make a future divorce extremely messy, especially if her parents inherit them. His words solidified my decision. I wasn't going to sit idly by and hope she would change her mind. I took action. I revised my legal documents to ensure my company remained solely in my name and set up separate personal accounts to safeguard my assets. The following night, she confronted me again. Tapping her foot impatiently, she asked, "Have you reconsidered?" I looked her in the eye. "No, I'm not selling them anything." Her face twisted in anger. "Then I'm done. If my future husband doesn't respect my family, I won't marry him." I stayed composed as she turned to leave, clearly expecting me to chase after her. Instead, I spoke calmly. "You don't have to. I've already decided. The wedding is off." She spun around, shocked. "What? You're calling it off?" For the first time, she seemed genuinely unsettled. She had expected to be the one making the final decision, but I had taken control. "You can't just walk away now," she stammered. "We've planned everything, the venue, the invitations." I let out a quiet chuckle. "You pushed, thinking I'd cave, but I refused to be manipulated. So congratulations. The wedding is canceled." Her eyes darted with panic. Then, in a last-ditch effort, she tried a different approach. Her voice wavered, and tears welled up. "I just wanted to strengthen our families and secure our future together." But her desperation wasn't regret. It was frustration at losing control. I saw right through it. "This conversation is over," I said firmly. "You've made it clear what you value most, and it isn't me. It's what I can provide for your parents." She tried to twist the story, claiming it was a cultural misunderstanding. But I was done listening. Why marry someone who only saw me as a means to an end? Breaking free from manipulation. The moment I called out her manipulation, her demeanor shifted. She let out a sharp hiss, her mask of affection slipping away. "Fine," she sneered. "You failed the test I set to measure your loyalty." I remained composed as I stood. "I built this company from the ground up. I don't owe your parents anything. And if anyone here is greedy, it's the person trying to bully their way into someone else's success." Her rage turned to desperation. She screamed, cursed, and finally tried to physically hold her ground. But I had to remove her from my home. "You will regret this," she spat. "I'll tell everyone you abandoned me and left me with nothing." I simply shrugged. "Tell whoever you want. I have proof of everything you said." She froze. Color drained from her face as she realized I had recorded parts of our conversation. My lawyer had advised me to document our exchanges, ensuring that any false accusations could be countered. She knew she had been caught. In the following days, she launched a frantic smear campaign, reaching out to mutual friends and family, painting herself as the victim. But when I shared excerpts of her own words, the tide turned. People who had once sympathized with her began to see the truth. Then, out of nowhere, she returned. Tear-streaked and desperate, she stood at my door, claiming she had been pressured by her parents. "They only wanted to feel included," she sobbed. "It was never about the money." I shook my head, unmoved. "If love was your priority, you wouldn't have threatened to leave me over money." She fell to her knees, pleading for forgiveness, but it was too late. I had seen the real her. There was no triumph in rejecting her, only relief. Relief that I had escaped a life of constant manipulation. Our trust is broken beyond repair, I said, voice steady. I will not marry you. She reached for my hand, but I pulled away. Leave. Don't contact me again. Realization dawned on her. The wedding, her future plans, the security she thought she had in my success, all gone. Defeated, she turned and walked away, tears falling freely. As the door closed behind her, silence filled the space, heavier than before. But beneath it, I felt an undeniable sense of peace. I was free. Legally, I was in the clear. There were no shared assets, no entanglements. My company remained solely mine. With my lawyer's help, I even secured a restraining order to prevent any further defamation. Her parents made a final attempt to guilt me into reconsidering. But when I told them the full truth, that their daughter had tried to demand part of my business as a condition for marriage, they faltered. I cut ties with them as well. In the weeks that followed, I refocused on my work, my team, and my well-being. Rumors about me being controlling or selfish faded once people realized she had no evidence, only bitterness. The experience taught me a valuable lesson. True love doesn't demand sacrifice as a success. It respects boundaries. A genuine partner doesn't try to extort you. They stand by you. By acting decisively, rather than giving in to ultimatums, I had dodged a disaster. The greed that had poisoned our relationship had been exposed, and I had emerged stronger, not bitter, just wiser. She had underestimated me. She thought I would cave to avoid conflict. She believed my achievements could be bought. She was wrong. And now, she had lost everything.